We're getting to hear your beautiful new song, Baby is the Moment. Where does the title come from?
Wow, that's actually a really wonderful question. And hello, everyone. I was sitting in therapy one day, and I was sitting with my therapist, and I was reflecting on an old relationship that I had had. And in that relationship, I felt very betrayed, and there was still a piece of me that was eager to conquer the relationship, to win it back. And my clinician said to me, she said, Jake, you got to let him have his moment. Like, you need to let him heal. You need to let him, whatever it is that he's going through, that led to that betrayal, that's not for you to figure out and that's not for you to fix. And ultimately, by you allowing him to have his moment, you're going to have your moment. So,
So then, was writing this song cathartic for you?
oh my gosh, so cathartic. I was actually in line in Disney World for Big Thunder Mountain, and it's a very whimsical place for those who have not been. And I was there alone. Um, and I started hearing the baby is the moment in my head. And I started thinking about this idea of, you know, all the things that we do as human beings to win somebody back or to want somebody's love. And that's where that line is, I'll wash your feet, deceit and repeat, but would you do as I done for you? Um, and I was in so much pain, but I was also in a space that unapologetically would allow me to heal. So I was on my phone and I just kept writing excerpts and excerpts and excerpts of lyrics. And then I got off the ride and I was so distracted and I felt like I was going to cry. And I sat down, right, and I sat down on a bench, and I just sat there for maybe 2.5 hours, and there's kids screaming and parades going by and everything, and I wrote the whole track. So it was healing. It was very healing, and I quite frankly didn't feel well for the rest of the week after I wrote that track,
Oh my goodness.
which
So
sounds
then,
like drama, but it was so real.
did you then, when you were on the bench, come up with the music part of it as well? Then, once you fleshed out the lyrics, or did that come later when you were crafting it in an actual place where you work in a studio and sort of flesh everything out and get everything fully formed?
Totally. So I always come up with a basic melody as I'm writing. It just allots me the ability to, curate a flow. And I work with the most fabulous producer in Brooklyn. His name's Jackson Hoffman. And I send him a voice memo of me singing the whole track. And I always say to him, listen, like, it's, I, I don't I don't particularly love how I sound on the voicemail because I'm like whispering, singing into it. And within 24 hours, he sent me a track back and was like, yo, I think we really got something here. So that's kind of how we suss out. And then what happens is once we have this like basic track idea, I'll go into the studio and we'll suss out, different lines and, really build out like a formal like pre-hook, hook, chorus, etc. Originally, I wanted the song to have the Hallelujah chorus in it. And due to copyright and all those things, we, had to like reframe and rebuild. But yes, I come up with things most of the time from a musical standpoint as well.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask if you knew if your ex heard the song or not.
Ooh, drama. I'm sure he has. He's seen all my stories. And you know what? I wouldn't call him an ex. He's an ex-lover. It was a very short, whimsical romance, but I think the more that I've healed from him and just healed from, like, I guess, like life and life trauma and life on life's terms in general. Um, I've found that this, as cliche as this sounds, whether he's heard it or not, it's actually really been a healing process for me, and just allowing myself to have my moment. So if he's heard it, I don't know if he knows it. It was originally inspired by him, but now it has a greater meaning for me, which is really special. And I would love to talk about that at some point.
We'll see if he's open to it post interview.
Oh, no, no, not with him.
Oh.
No, in
Oh.
here.
You want to talk about it with yourself, or you want to feel free to talk about it with me? I'm more than happy
Yeah,
to.
I mean, this is really important to me, actually. We really, the LGBTQIA plus community, were hit with a really devastating tragedy this past week in Colorado Springs, the shooting, and it destroyed me. I was very, very sad, which, I think, I hope so many people, really kind of sat in it and thank their, just like their gratitude and how lucky we are, how quick life can go. But what happened to me was that song, funny enough, came out like 2 days after the shooting, and I was thinking, like, oh my God, these beautiful human beings that lost their lives are never going to have their moment again. They're never going to have their moment to connect. They're never going to have their moment to dance, to be silly, to love, to feel, to be in life. And, you know, I want every LGBTQIA plus person, every straight person, every person on this earth, if they hear the song, to dance and celebrate whatever that moment may be that they're having in their lives, because we don't know when we're going to have that moment taken away from us. And when it came out, I was thinking about all of this, and I started a fundraiser in lieu of this. I want up to 500 streams of my first streams. I want to match that in dollar count. And there's actually a link on my TikTok and Instagram feed, but I really just, I think here's what I'm going to say without overthinking this. I hope whoever it is that's up there is dancing along with me right now, and just knows that I get to use my voice, and I get to use my artistry to create, and we, none of us as a part of the LGBTQIA plus community, should be afraid to do so, because this is our time to unify and shine.
That's such a beautiful sentiment, and I'm more than happy to include the link in our interview as well, so that people can donate and get involved as well.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate you going as far as making such a beautiful website, and going as far as helping people donate to this beautiful cause. Such an important thing to get the message out, to help each other more than hurt each other.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a bit of an odd transition, but to continue
Sure.
discussing about the beautiful music that you're making, do you have a full album or an EP in the works at all?
Yeah, so I actually just released my first EP a little while ago. It came out in, I want to say, April or May. Um, but yes, it's called Takeoff, and it actually follows the story of Jake as a single man searching for love, to Jake meeting this ex-lover, um, to saying goodbye, to then finding that, those moments of happiness again. So it's a real story. And then what's interesting about Baby Is the Moment is that came way after. And that's when I was sitting in my anger, and really was working to heal. But it's the final chapter or segment of this story. So all of that was recorded last spring, and I've been holding on to it and holding on to it and holding on to it. And one of my buddies about a month ago said to me, Jake, stop giving a shit. If you need to be cringe, be cringe. Put yourself out there and do the damn thing. And since then, my TikTok has exploded. You know, this is the most authentic launch I feel like I've ever had for a single of mine. And I've done the least amount of work putting it out. And I don't mean that in a lazy way. I mean it in a way that it just is so cozy and warm to my heart that I don't feel like I have to put on a massive, shiny production for it to be understood and heard.
Is then Baby is the Moment your favorite song off of this EP? Since
Yeah,
it
I mean,
is
it
so
wasn't
personal for
included on
you.
the, for sure. It wasn't included on the EP, but it's the one. It wasn't. So it's funny because it came after, and I had 4 tracks, and I was like, these need to go out as a whole because it's a story from start to finish. And then we went back into the studio, and I was still feeling it. I was still fighting it. Um, and yeah, no, it's my favorite. I can't not smile and dance and listen to it whenever I hear it. It's Jake in a nutshell. I was a musical theater, student, and I was like, I want to curate a track, whether it gets 5 streams or a million streams, that is just so true to my being. Something that you could throw in a pop opera or a rock opera, and people would be like, hell yeah, or you could hear it in the club. But it's so me. There's so many facets to it, lyrically, musically. It's when you hear the the what the bridge, the sonic like breakdown into the Hallelujah. That's me just giving you like Andrew Lloyd Webber or Phantom of the Opera.
Is then a song on this EP something that sort of challenged you the most creatively? Is there one track that maybe lyrically challenged you or creatively challenged you?
Yeah. Um, Take Off, which is the name of the EP, was very easy for me to write. Um, I think Baby is the Moment was challenging. Well, there's 2 songs. There's Baby is the Moment, and there's Paris, right? And Paris, I love. It's a beautiful song, but listening back to it, um, it's quite literal. Um, it tells the story from start to finish, and then Baby is the Moment. I held on to it for so long because I was so afraid of what people were going to think of me putting it out. Um, so I think that was the biggest challenge with it. And there's so many biblical references in it too. So I think it was challenging for me to think about, like, quite literally, how do we make this make sense um, in lieu of my story, you know?
And of course, since it is so personal to you, it's probably the most nervous you were able to the most nervous you were when releasing a track, since you are so vulnerable in it as well.
Sure.
What do you hope listeners take away then from exploring your music, whether it is Baby is the Moment or Take Off, or is there a message in general you really hope lingers with people that listen to the music you make?
Healing is so important. Healing is not linear. We are healing every day, every single moment. Um, I think I go back to that whole feeling of cringe, right? And I think we as human beings feel that every day, whether, you know, we don't feel pretty enough, or we don't feel smart enough, or we don't feel in shape, or we don't feel loved. But this whole process has been so liberating for me. And the music is, like I keep saying, it's very literal. And I hope people, when they listen to it, they heal. They hear what I'm saying, that they're not alone in their story. They're really not alone. And that's what I also try to translate into my TikTok as well, is that, we as human beings, we are all human animals. We are all people with real feelings, and our journey is invaluable. But we all have a story to tell. I just decided to be very, very literal, which I don't know how great that was for me, but it is what it is.
It's the path that you felt the most comfortable taking, and if
Absolutely.
that's how you amplify what needs to be said and get off your chest, that's a perfect way. You have a voice, you're using it.
Oh,
Literally and figuratively. Well, I know you touched on it a little bit, but you are a part of social media. Why is that such an important way for you to connect with your fans?
for sure. Um, you know, TikTok for me at first was very scary. And what I did was I started to curate before the music came out these videos. And I am a LMSW. I'm a licensed master of social work, and I've worked clinically um, for the last, oh my gosh, almost 3.5, 4 years. And my whole life, I never felt like, and yes, I have my queen, right? I have Gaga, and she helped me through so much, but like quite literally helped me through so much. Um, but I never felt like there was a gay man or gay youth, someone in the public eye that spoke my language, right? Somebody that could quite literally explain things to me, um, that I was feeling and going through in a safe and cozy way, or maybe in a way that makes one feel uncomfortable, um, but that I could relate to or could explain things to me. Look, there's no gay sex ed in school. There's no, parents aren't educated to teach their children how to feel and find love as a gay man, and that's okay. A lot of us weren't nurtured to understand all of these things. So, to answer your question, social media is important to me because it is the most authentic, as inauthentic as it is, because it is performative, right? Space for me to share these things with people and to give people a voice and to be vulnerable and to help people of all ages on their journey. Um, and that's what I hope to do with the music, and that's what I hope to do with my TikTok. I'm under Jake Lancer, but my alias that I've curated is your gay boy therapist with a BOI. Um, and I had to stop, like I said, I had to stop TikToking for like almost like, I want to say 6 months. I built up a decent following. And then I just started again, maybe about a month and a half ago. We've already hit 40,000 followers. I'm getting, DMs every single day from beautiful people, running into people in the city asking me, are you the gay boy therapist? Like, thank you so much. Like, you've changed my life. You've, helped me come out to my parents. All of these beautiful things, or you've, I now see things in a different light. And, you know, I don't do this because I'm trying to be, the next Lady Gaga or famous or whatever. I'm doing this because I feel like it's my duty to do so. I don't want anyone to go through what I went through.
Oh my goodness, that's such a beautiful sentiment. It must mean the world to you that people stop you and really feel touched and moved and helped by the messages you do send out on social media. I mean, a lot of the content, I'm sure, is you speaking to your former self, giving advice about what you would give. So for it to resonate with so many other people, come on, that must fill your heart more than there are words to say.
Of course, it's funny because people will comment on my feed. They'll be like, "Stop projecting," and I'm like,
You're like, my
"Sorry."
goodness, if you only knew. Stop.
Right.
I'm helping myself. Trust me.
That, but also, the world's my canvas. I see things and I'm inspired and I want to share.
Let me use my voice for good.
Right. Or my
And I'm
trauma for
that's right.
good.
What would you like to say then to everyone who are fans and supporters, not only of the beautiful music you make, but of the messages you do try to put out into the world?
I am so grateful. I am so grateful. I am so thankful for the thousands of people that have streamed my music, for the thousands of people that have watched my music. It feels bizarre for me to call people that have been following me now for almost a year fans. Um, but the relationship that I have with so many of the fans of the music and of the TikTok, I have dialogues with, and I'm grateful for all of you, and I'm grateful for your vulnerability. I'm thankful that you trust me to be a source of your precious time when connecting with social media or connecting with music. And this, what I genuinely want to say is that over the last 3 months, I've taken so much time to heal, right? And I'm on my own healing journey, and this is just the beginning. And we're gonna really curate something special. So that's what I would say, and it's not coming from like an ego place or a place of cockiness. It's coming from a place of like I'm really grateful and feel so loved by your longing to wanting to connect, and because of that, it's only inspired me that much more to want to create and create at a higher level and vibration.